In the top stories, 8 women awarded at International Women's Day ceremony. Prime Minister Harris underscores the importance of International Women's Day. And OECS authority says aviation is an issue that needs a widespread response. The details on these stories and more after the break. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Channel 5 newscast. I'm Carla Berridge. The Ministry of Community Development, Gender Affairs and Social Services joined the international community on Wednesday in the commemoration of the International Women's Day under the theme #BeBoldForChange with an annual award ceremony held under the distinguished patronage of His Excellency Tapley Seaton at Government House. 8 pioneering women were celebrated for their stellar contributions to nation building. The awardees were Shirley Julius, Public Service, Tiandra Brown, Construction, Michelle Delacoje Blake, Psychology, Yvette Slack, Nurturing, Antoinette Henry, Athletics, Lucretia Sargent, Entrepreneurship, Dr. Patricia Richards, Leader, Gerontology, and Beulah Mills, Tourism. Director of Gender Affairs Celia Christopher, giving an address during the award ceremony, noted that this year's theme for the commemoration of International Women's Day is quite significant.
The theme is very timely, as the empowerment of women is one of the Millennium Development Goals, which is critical to the realization of several of the other goals. There is also the campaign theme, Be Bold for Change. One may ask the question, what does Be Bold for Change really mean? It is simply a rallying cry to women across the globe to fight for gender equality in their communities, workplaces, or wherever they are.
During her presentation, Minister of State in the Ministry of Gender Affairs, Honorable Wendy Phipps, indicated that although women have achieved much, there is still much to be achieved.
And if we are to take the United Nations target year of 2186, by which time we should achieve gender parity, then we have a problem. By extension, the sub-theme for International Women's Day states that we should have Planet 50-50, meaning that we should have gender parity by the year 2030, which is also the signal year for the achievement of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals.
Senator Honorable Akila Byron Nisbet, Deputy Speaker in the National Assembly, during the keynote address, reminded all that women throughout history have always been bold for change.
The suffragettes are credited for having started International Women's Day with the first officially named event held in 1911. It was the bold action of this group of women that gave women around the world that voice which became the right for women to vote. These women were willing to take bold and decisive measures unheard of at this time in history, in order to see women taking part in the democratic process and having the right to vote.
She highlighted examples of pioneering women in the Caribbean, such as Dame Eugenia Charles and Kamna Prasad Bissessa's rise to lead their countries as prime ministers, and others as some of the women who have had to be bold in order to effect meaningful change. And in a related story, while speaking at the recently held opening ceremony for the newly renovated Victoria Road Preschool on Wednesday, Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, underscored the significance of International Women's Day.
International Women's Day predated the UN's involvement in it by more than 60 years, since in fact, way back in 2009, no less an entity than a socialist grouping in the USA would put forward the need for the observance of International Women's Day.
Prime Minister Harris used the opportunity to acknowledge and commend all women.
Here in St. Kitts and Nevis, we aim to be ahead of the rest, and in this regard, our Senator with responsibility for gender affairs, the Honorable Wendy Phipps, has brought to Cabinet and has had the approval of the Cabinet for a month-long calendar of events to mark the celebration of International Women's Day. Could we give the all women really a round of applause?
The United Nations theme for this year's observation of International Women's Day is Women in the Changing World of Work, Planet 50/50 by 2030. The campaign theme for International Women's Day 2017 is #BeBoldForChange. As the achievements of women across society are being celebrated in commemoration of International Women's Day, Junior Minister responsible for Gender Affairs in the Nevis Island Administration, Honorable Hazel Brandy Williams, made an address to the nation. She said the day is a means of sounding a call for greater gender equality so as to build on gains already made, and also spoke of the importance of the day's observance.
What is critical about this important day of universal observance is that it does not hold significance for any isolated group or category of persons. Its scope and significance is all-encompassing, as it seeks to bring together governments, women's organizations, corporations, and various charitable groups all across the world in various fora of celebration.
She said the original aim of International Women's Day was to serve as a medium that would articulate the need for full gender equality and empowerment of women, which she said has still not been realized. Minister Brandy Williams said the theme #BeBoldForChange therefore serves as a rally for society to fight for change in addressing inequalities and overcoming long-standing barriers.
Ours must be a bold campaign for change, which seeks to eradicate the stain of domestic abuse in our homes and preserves the life and dignity of our wives and daughters. Ours must be a bold campaign for change, which says that the paucity of women in political leadership must become a thing of the past, for our democracy will be the better when we do it together.
It was noted that the Gender Affairs Division in the Ministry of Social Development, Nevis, has started taking steps for changing and elevating the status of women with activities which include gender sensitization and focal point training workshops, the introduction of the Non-Traditional Occupation for Women Now program, the Second Chance Teen Mothers Life Skills Training program, and health fairs and educational sessions. After the break, 3 persons found guilty for a murder in 2011 and 5 officers awarded Her Majesty's Diamond Jubilee Medal. We'll tell you more when we come back. 3 persons on trial for murder were found guilty of all charges on Tuesday at the Bastia High Court. Denwar Simmons, Nicholas Riley, and Keith Murray of Challengers Village were on trial for the murder of George Livingston Creeley of Middle Island. The incident occurred on January 27, 2011 in Challengers Mountain. Head of the Crime Directorate, ACP Andrew Mitchell, said, quote, "This conviction brings closure to the family of the victim and is also testament to the diligence of the investigators in the Violent Crimes Unit," end quote. He added, "I commend the prosecution for their hard work in seeing justice done. Sentencing will be after the completion of a social inquiry report." The police have charged a young man from Nevis for a robbery at the S.L. Hosfords and Company Limited Nevis Center. Investigators have arrested and charged Shaquille Campbell of Craddock Road for armed robbery, which occurred on Friday, February 17th. Head of the Nevis Division, Superintendent Trepper Mills, commended the investigators and all those who assisted. He said, quote, "It is this type of partnership that will reduce crime and remove the fear of crime from our community," end quote. Superintendent Mills further encouraged all residents to work with the police and join the effort by providing any information they may have as it relates to the crime. 5 police constables assigned to the Nevis Division were the first officers within the police force to receive Her Majesty's Diamond Jubilee Medal. The award, commissioned by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, was minted and authorized to be worn by all officers in the police services, prison services, and other designated agencies throughout the Commonwealth in recognition of Her Majesty's Diamond Jubilee. During an awards dinner on Saturday night, the Governor-General, His Excellency Sir S.W. Tapley Seaton, the CMG, CVO QCJP, presented the medal to Constable Arnett Hendrickson, Constable Wayne Cranston, Constable Dave Bedford, Constable Lisa Daniel, and Constable Hans Griffin. Commissioner Creeley, in describing the significance of the awards, said, quote, "These officers are being recognized for their service of fidelity, zeal, and honor to Her Majesty by their service in the Royal St. Christopher Nevis Police Force," end quote. The medal will be presented to other eligible officers throughout this year. Eligibility for the medal includes honorable and faithful service in a Royal Police Force, the Defense Force, Fire and Rescue Services, or Her Majesty's Prison Service. The OACS authority says aviation in the region requires a wide-ranging response, and there are a number of arrangements surrounding airlift across the region that need to be addressed. That's the word from Director General of the OACS Commission, Dr. Didicus Jules, following the recently concluded meeting of the OACS authority. Responding to a question about LIAT's plans to cut back on routes in the Caribbean, Dr. Jules said LIAT wasn't specifically discussed, but there are aviation issues which need to be addressed on a regional level.
The resolution of the challenges of air travel in the Caribbean is not just an OECS challenge. It requires a CARICOM response. And so a lot of the discussion focus on ways in which governments could work. We could work more closely with CARICOM, for example, in relation to air services agreements and so on, to have that situation resolved. So it's the beginning of an in-depth discussion.
He said this issue cannot be resolved in a one meeting, and there is a lot of technical work that has already started. He said this work will provide the heads with guidance as they aim to solve aviation challenges in the region. In February, LIAT announced that it would cut back on routes in the USVI in March and suspend service between Dominica and Guadeloupe. The Nevis Culturama Committee is encouraging early participation in various competitions by offering special incentives to artists who release their Culturama music early. In an interview with ZIZ News, Director of the Nevis Culturama Secretariat, Antonio Librad, said that they want to reward those who have been working hard throughout the year and have released their music early.
The committee this year is once again offering an incentive to the first song, Calypso song, that is to release. And we have decided this year that we would include the Soca Monarch artists as well to be a part of this incentive. So we are offering $500 for the first Soca song and also for the first Calypso song to be released for this year's festival.
Librad also outlined the Culturama Committee's guidelines, which the artist must follow.
The song must be officially released during a radio interview on national radio, on a national radio station. No internet releases on social media such as Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud, and other social media sites would be recognized as an official song release. Now, a copy of the song must also be received on CD or in MP3 format by the Culturama Secretariat in the Cotton General Mall, Charleston, Nevis, within 48 hours after the official release on the radio.
Librad said the piece submitted must be registered to compete in one of the upcoming competitions.
The song must be entered and performed in at least one stage of the competition. That is either the eliminations, the semi-finals or finals of either the Senior Calypso contest or the Soca Monarch contest. So we do not want somebody to just release a song and then do not enter that song into the competition. Once you want to be eligible for this award, the song must be performed in at least one stage of either the Soca Monarch contest or the Senior Calypso contest. This
year's edition of Culturama will take place July 27th to August 8th. Coming up, Brazilian man charged in connection with money laundering and fraud cases. The details when we come back.
Can you afford to lose everything? In times of uncertainty, ensure you have the security of Quartz Payment Protection. When you shop with Quartz Ready Finance Gold or Ultimate Plan, if you lose your job after 6 months of making payments, our redundancy coverage ensures that the payment on your account continues for up to 12 months. Don't risk losing everything. Shop with Quartz Ready Finance and get the payment protection plan that protects you against redundancy, disability, death, and loss of item due to natural disaster, fire, flood, or theft. Quartz Ready Finance with payment protection. Quartz, bringing value home.
A Brazilian man has been charged with conspiring to launder money linked to fraud out of the United States. Here's more.
Reuters reports that Leonardo Casola Francisco became the second Brazilian man who has been charged with conspiring to launder money linked to a massive fraud out of the United States in a case that led to the discovery of $17 million in cash under a mattress in a Massachusetts apartment. The case stemmed from an investigation into TelexFree, a Marlborough, Massachusetts-based company that sold voice-over internet telephone service and was founded by James Merrill, a U.S. citizen, and Carl Wanzler, a Brazilian whose court papers said is Casola's uncle. Prosecutors said TelexFree was a pyramid scheme, making little to no money selling its service while taking in millions of dollars from thousands of people who paid to sign up to be promoters and post ads online for it.
In St. Lucia, National Security Minister Herman Guild Francis says that conflict resolution should be an integral part of school's curriculum. We hear more in this HTS St. Lucia report.
It was revealed that 7 or over 1/3 of St. Lucia's 17 recorded homicides for 2017 were the result of domestic or familial disputes. Notably, the most recent, numbers 12 through 17, belong to this subset as opposed to drug and gang-related homicides, which dominate the island's recorded violent deaths over the years. Pundits have noted that these types of incidents, while abhorrent, highlight a need for effective and peaceful conflict resolution. National Security Minister Senator Herman Guild Francis concurs, but also believes that this should be ingrained in the citizenry at an early age.
There shouldn't be any reason why for simple matters that we should resort to using a knife on persons that we actually love. So I think conflict resolution has to be taken.
Should it be a part of the school curriculum from infant right through to...
I agree from school. Some of the older persons, we may not be able to reach them as quickly or as accessibly as we want, but I think we need to do this with the school children immediately. So that they grow up understanding how to solve problems.
At least 2 of those 7 homicides, including the February 1st double murder of Sandrina Joseph and partner Jeffrey Abella, and that of Sophiana Edwards on March 5th, bear striking similarities. In both cases, the suspects are the respective ex-boyfriends of the female victims. Furthermore, because of their deaths, each woman leaves behind 2 young children. Local government minister Senator Fortuna Belrose believes the violent acts point to a lack of emotional intelligence.
I think it's sad because to a large extent, again, some of our young men are not able to contain themselves or control themselves. And again, parents have to do a better job at really encouraging the children to understand that we each are individuals, we are each unique, and we each have our own way of thinking, and we are responsible for our relationships, and that we did not bring people into this world, but God created man and woman, and we have to try to live in harmony. We may disagree, but we have to respect the fact that people may not always agree with us and not resort to violence against other persons with different views to ours.
Meanwhile, friends and neighbors of the Active Hill double homicide victims allege that the authorities, who were duly notified of reports of supposed threats against the slain couple, failed to act upon this information. Senator Herman Guild Francis is also a former Deputy Commissioner of Police.
If the reports were made to the police must act, and police officers do take threats seriously. It's sometimes when the police officers do go and investigate the threats, people are saying, well, there are more serious things to take care of, and why are you coming and telling me a woman said she's going to do this, or a man said that he's going to do that, and that's our attitude. But the police do take things seriously.
And we're talking from your experience as Commissioner.
Very well.
The latest information reaching our news desk is that the suspect in last Sunday's murder of Sophiana Edwards is still on the lam. Miguel Favre, HTS News Force.
Coming up, Syrian refugees to receive financial assistance from the United Nations. The details when we come back. Syrian refugees with the legal right to work in Lebanon will soon lose financial assistance from the United Nations. It's part of an agreement between the Lebanese government and the UN's Refugee Agency, but some aid groups have warned it could encourage joblessness. More in this report.
It's another busy day at one of the dozens of building sites spread across Beirut. Construction workers from Syria, Bangladesh, Egypt, and elsewhere all labor alongside each other. But Syrian workers will soon have less to live on. As part of an agreement reached between the Lebanese government and the United Nations, Syrian refugees with work permits in construction and 2 other sectors will no longer receive regular financial aid from the UN. Mohammed Marwa is from Hasaka in northeastern Syria. He fled the fighting there 3 years ago. Shortly after arriving in Lebanon, he applied for a work permit and has been working in construction ever since. Marwa says losing the around $150 a month that his family currently gets from the UN on top of his regular salary will hurt.
We are barely surviving with all the expenses here in Lebanon. Most of the people can't even provide their families with the basics. Everyone relies on the UN's assistance.
Some aid agencies have said they're worried about this agreement reached between the UN and the Lebanese government, saying that it could encourage joblessness among some Syrian refugees who may choose to survive on limited aid over working in low-paying jobs like construction.
The UN says Syrian refugees with work permits number in the thousands and won't lose out on aid entirely.
Some aspects of our assistance schemes target everyone. For example, we consider that every child should receive education assistance and be enrolled in schools. And these various types of assistance will continue to everyone. For example, education and healthcare and other types of assistance.
The Lebanese government has been pushing for tighter regulations on Syrian labor in the country for years. Political leaders say Syrian refugees accept significantly lower wages than Lebanese citizens, resulting in higher rates of unemployment for some Lebanese. Whatever the case, work by Syrian refugees is often done without permits because for most they are often too difficult or too expensive to obtain. And now those who have the legal right to work in Lebanon are left with little choice but to live on even less. Imtiaz Taib, Al Jazeera, Beirut.
The mayor of Senegal's capital, Khalifa Sall, and 3 other officials have been charged with embezzling $2.8 million. Hundreds gathered outside the courthouse in protest, and riot police were deployed. More in this report.
No longer a free man, the mayor of Dakar left the courthouse away from the cameras under police custody and headed to prison. His supporters are in shock, some crying, others chanting, "Free Khalifa." Just hours before he entered the tribunal surrounded by his supporters, chanting, "Khalifa President." Khalifa Sall is the country's most influential politician. Once an ally of President Macky Sall, he now leads the opposition and has turned into the president's main political rival. But state-appointed prosecutors also say he embezzled $2.8 million of public funds. It's a charge he denies.
We are fed up with attacks. This is all lies. Just because he doesn't agree with the government doesn't mean he should end up in jail. We have to support him, and if they continue to harass him, we will fight back.
Riot police have deployed, fearing the public's reaction to the judge's decision to detain him. Rarely do the powerful end up in court, and so this has attracted the country's attention. The Special Anti-Corruption Court has sentenced only political rivals to the president, like Karim Wad. He has since been released and lives in exile. At a press conference, human rights lawyers called for more whistleblowers to denounce what they describe as rampant corruption in West Africa. Not just in politics, also in business. Still, Amnesty International says a more independent judiciary is needed to tackle the problem.
We have to address this structural problem. The prosecutor depends directly from the Minister of Justice, and the Minister depends directly from the President of the Republic. It is very difficult. The problem is how to get a prosecutor that is very independent.
The opposition says the court is biased and is being used by the president to clamp down on opponents. This comes just months before a parliamentary election, and for President Macky Sall's government, it's a way to show that they're clamping down on corruption. For the opposition, it's a way to elicit sympathy from the public for a leader that remains popular, especially here in the capital. Dakar's mayor may be in jail in his own town, but this is not the end of Khalifa Sall's political career. Despite the corruption charges, the opposition sees him as a leader and regard this moment as a tipping point. They say they are more determined than ever to mount a unified front against Macky Sall's party, a fight they'll take to the upcoming parliamentary elections. Nicholas Hawk, Al Jazeera, Dakar.
Up next in sports, SKNFA Technical Director is hopeful about the future of women's football, and former national footballer presents trophy to outstanding student athletes. Stay tuned.
Can you afford to lose everything? In times of uncertainty, ensure you have the security of Quartz Payment Protection. When you shop with Quartz Ready Finance Gold or Ultimate Plan, if you lose your job after 6 months of making payments, our redundancy coverage ensures that the payment on your account continues for up to 12 months. Don't risk losing everything. Shop with Quartz Ready Finance and get the payment protection plan that protects you against redundancy, disability, death, and loss of item due to natural disaster, fire, flood, or theft. Quartz Ready Finance with payment protection. Quartz, bringing value home.
Technical Director in the St. Kitts Nevis Football Association, Lenny Lake, says the SKNFA will do all in its power to ensure that the women's football program grows. Lake said the interest in women's football has been one of the challenges that the association faces. He made the comments while speaking with ZIZ on Wednesday morning.
We struggle with the terms of the interest. We still have parents who don't believe that their daughters should play football in this day and age. We still have parents who believe that if they play football, they might get their foot going. So we have those challenges with the young girls coming in. You still have parents who believe that the girls should not play among boys because the boys play too rough and they may injure the girls. However, we push on, like any other association, we push on, we make it available, we give opportunities to the girls.
The technical director said that although the association has experienced challenges with the women's program, he has hope that it will evolve.
There's a lot of work to be done from my desk as the technical director. There's a lot of work to be done from the SKNFA level as the board. And there's a lot of work to be done at the club level. But I think it is possible. It's possible as we continue to work. We continue to believe that this program will turn the corner. The program will get better once we keep on working. And I believe in a few years we will see a very good women's program in St. Kitts Nevis, because you have seen the potential at various levels.
And while addressing the status of women's football throughout the Federation, Mr. Lake used the opportunity to recognize all women on International Women's Day.
You know, when you have these days, you do have to recognize women for their contribution, not in sports alone, but entirely in society. And I do wish all the women the very best on this day. And also to let them know they have the full support of men. And don't try to do it alone, but we are there also to support you. And I think most men would recognize that women play a very significant role in their life, starting with their moms, sisters, and of course branching out into the community and community day.
Technical Director in the St. Kitts Nevis Football Association, Lenny Lake. Two of the most outstanding student athletes at the Tyrrell Williams Primary School, Dequan Hamilton and Camille Hendricks, were the recipients of the Gerard Williams Trophy on Monday. Professional footballer and past student Gerard Williams said he would like to make the recognition of student athletes an annual event.
I came home and I decided to do a little surprise. Nobody really know about it. So I talked to two of you and I let her know that the most outstanding male and female athlete will get a Gerard Williams Trophy. And I will try my best to make it an annual thing.
Principal Stuart Joseph thanked Williams for partnering with the school.
On behalf of the staff and the students of Terry Williams, Mr. Gerard, I would like to thank you for partnering with the school, and we hope that more community-minded persons can come forward like you, okay? And best of luck in Trinidad.
Gerard Williams, who is from Old Road, has been playing professional football in Trinidad for the past 10 years. Nike is releasing a new activewear product for Muslim women called Pro Hijabs. The clothing line has been in development for a year and will go on sale next year. Al Jazeera's Whitney Hurst has more.
An increasingly common sight on the sporting field, from the Olympics to professional football. Women are kicking, spiking, and playing in hijab. And now companies are trying to cash in on the action. Nike wants a slice of the growing market with its new product, a hijab for female athletes. But not everyone is keeping up. Some international sporting federations have banned the hijab during competition.
They're saying that hijab is unsafe. So that one will be tight. That will help us for the ban. So they don't have any opportunity to say no.
In 2015, Muslim women spent $44 billion on modest clothing. With so much revenue at stake, Nike is under pressure to keep its share of the market as it faces increasing competition from other sportswear companies.
Adidas has been very, very aggressive in trying to turn around its business and its brand image. Adidas has played big in China, and that's beginning to bear fruit for them. At the same time, there are challenger brands like Under Armour. Under Armour has been massively aggressive in North America, which is Nike's traditional industrial heartland.
Other companies like Capsters and Asia are already in the marketplace, making exercise gear for Muslim women, and hoping that this trend will be a runaway success. Whitney Hurst, Al Jazeera.
When we come back, we'll have another look at the stories that made the headlines. Recapping the top stories, 8 women awarded at International Women's Day ceremony. Prime Minister Harris underscores the importance of International Women's Day. And OECS authority says aviation is an issue that needs a widespread response. And that's the end of the ZIZ Channel 5 newscast. Thank you for joining us. I'm Carla Verridge. Goodbye.